Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. Today, we made it up to episode 460, which is titled Modeling a High Degree of Character at Home. If you've been following along for a while, you know we're on part 27 of 31, which is actually focused on chapter 26 of my wife Rhea Story's book, The Ladder of Influence. Subtitle, 5 Steps for Climbing to the Next Level and Beyond. And the title of chapter 26 that we're focused on today is The Fifth Step at Home. And again, the title of the episode, Modeling a High Degree of Character at Home, which is what we're going to talk about, which is what this chapter is really about. When I go through the checklist, if you've been following along in the series, you know when we get to this point of each step, there's a couple of chapters with checklists, so you can kind of validate and evaluate yourself to see how you're doing relative to this step, either at home or at work. So we'll be talking about work next week. So this one is, if you made it to the 5th step on your climb up the ladder of influence, you've got a really high degree of character. So this is the checklist I'm going to cover here is holding you to a high standard, but it ain't me holding you to a high standard. If you're at this step, it's you holding yourself to a high standard. And I hope you got the book. If you don't, go to Rhea's website, go to rheastory.com, and her store there, you can buy the book. Or you can go to Amazon and get the book. It's also available in audio book and ebook there. But I really hope you got the paperback version because of these checklists and because of the need for you to go back and reference this book in the future. If you're serious about climbing this ladder, this is a book that you'll probably use as a tool for your whole life. You'll go back and review it from time to time. It's not a one and done type book. So let's dive into this 5th step at home, modeling a high degree of character for your family, in your house. So Rhea says, as we grow and develop our character, our various personas should start blending together until we are one authentic person, no matter where we are or who we're with. What she's talking about is having a high degree of integrity. In the true sense of the word, I'm the same person. Integrity meaning I'm the same. I'm a whole person. Everywhere. Same person. She goes on to say, your character and characteristics should be the same on Friday night out with your friends as they are on Sunday morning in church with your family or Monday morning at work with your coworkers. And I know I used to be a different person in not just those 3 places, but a whole lot of other places. Because I was not congruent. I didn't walk the talk. Not everywhere. Some places I tried to pretend I was, but other places I didn't even try to pretend. I just let who I truly was at that time shine in a bad way, in a negative way, because my character was low. But the people I was hanging around with, they didn't care because their character was low too. But in some certain situations, I'd be hanging around people with a higher degree of character in mine. And that's when I was trying to put up the front, try to pretend to be somebody I wasn't, or try to pretend to be better than I was as a person relative to my character. So Rhea says, a good indication of your growth and authenticity is the moment you realize you no longer feel the need to hide your behavior. And that's a spot I've been in for a while. And I like it. I like being the same person everywhere because I've grown to a level of character that there's nothing to hide character-wise from anybody. It doesn't matter what group of people I'm in. If I were to be in a group of people with low character, I ain't trying to match them, but I also ain't looking down on them. I'm just trying to be me. I'm not going to be exhibiting some of the behaviors they may be exhibiting. And some of those low character people may hold that against me, and that's all right. They can come up to my level, but I ain't going back down to their level. But I'm not going to judge them if they don't want to come up. I may judge them as being a friend. I'm not going to judge them as a person. It's their life. They get to live it. But I'm going to judge them in the sense of I'm going to decide who I hang around. I ain't going to hang around with bad people doing bad things, treating people bad. That's my choice. But I ain't going to chase them up and down the street telling them how they need to be. That's their choice. So let's get to the checklist for this chapter. It's got some good stuff in it. And I'll share a quote with you from Ralph Waldo Emerson as we get started and you start to reflect on these items. He said, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say." How about that? Who you are speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say. And he's talking about the old saying we've all heard it forever. Actions speak louder than words. What he's saying is your actions are so loud, I can't hear what you're saying about who you think you are. All I can hear is who you really are. And that's what our behavior shows. I always say character can be masked, but it can't be hidden. This is an example of that. You can mask your character in a lot of places at a lot of times, but you can't hide it because somebody somewhere is seeing it. And you're making choices all the time, at work, at home, in traffic, everywhere you go. And those choices reveal your character. And a lot of times people of lower character think they got everybody else fooled, and they don't realize people of high character can see in the dark when it comes to character. Little bitty tiny things that people of lower character don't pick up on, they miss completely. Somebody of high character understands what all these little tiny things mean, what they're rooted in, where they're coming from. So let's cover this list as we dive deeper into this episode. And I hope you find value in this series. So the first item, Rhea says, and these are things that if you got the real book, your goal in all these different chapters related to the checklist should be to being honest with yourself is to be able to check these items off the list, meaning that you have developed a character level where this is who you are all the time with all people, not hiding, not judging yourself based on your best behavior, but really judging yourself based on your worst behavior. Can I authentically check off these items? And that's what you're striving to do, is to live like a person needs to be living in order to be able to honestly check off these items as this is who I am and this is how I operate as a human being. So the first thing on Rhea's checklist, I apologize immediately when I wrong someone. And she's got a note that says, in parentheses, at the end of each one of these, she's got the note, if you remember. So I'm going to share her checklist item. Then I'm going to share her thoughts, her thought-provoking comment at the end in parentheses. So the checklist item is, I apologize immediately when I wrong someone. Her supporting note is, I don't wait to fix my wrongs. That's a powerful one. A lot of people don't apologize ever, much less immediately when they wrong someone. You know it. You probably if I was with you right now, you probably could write me down a list of people who should have apologized to you. Some of them were yesterday and some of them might have been 10 years ago or longer than that, and they still haven't done it. But I'm just asking you, look out the window and see how other people are, because you already know. But this book is about looking in the mirror at yourself and seeing, if I'm talking for me, how am I doing? That's the question you got to ask yourself. Not how somebody else is doing. Look in the mirror and say, how am I doing? Do I apologize immediately when I wrong someone? That means when you find out or figure out or learn that you've done someone wrong, you go straight to apologizing. Not just to say it. You got to mean it. They got to feel it. They got to believe it. If they don't believe you're truly apologizing, you'd be better off not to apologize, because you done did something wrong and then you're trying to fake an apology. That's two things wrong. So you're better off just doing one thing wrong instead of two. But the goal is, if you do one thing wrong, to be able to authentically do one thing right, to try to get to work on fixing it. And that's an authentic apology. Second item in the checklist: I accept feedback on my character weaknesses from those closest to me. Rhea's note at the end: I'm working to get better and will take all the help I can get. So the bullet again, the checklist item: I accept feedback on my character weaknesses from those closest to me. That means you accept it without jumping on them, without being reactive, without getting all defensive. You're looking for and seeking and accepting of feedback from people who are close to you. Remember, we're on the 5th step. For you to actually have gotten to this step, you've done a lot of work already. If you've been listening to this series or reading the book, you know what I'm talking about. It takes a lot of character development work to get to be able to check these items off of this list, especially a lot of these items. The next item on the list: I treat others with kindness at all times. Rhea's note: I don't pretend to be kind and then act rudely to a server or someone I don't know. What she's talking about is, you see a lot of people, they want to put on a front like they're nice and they're kind to others. And you may go to lunch or dinner with them and see how they treat a server. And it may not be that they do something outwardly terrible. It may just be that the server fills their glass of water and they don't say thank you. To some people, they're like, why should I say thank you? That's their job. Because that's your character that's on display. That's why. If someone does something nice for you, guess what a person of high character would do? They'll say thank you. I go to dinner all the time with people, and a lot of those people, I'm talking about clients or someone like that, people we meet, somebody wants to speak with us or something like that, we meet with them. A lot of times they're totally ignoring the server. They don't ask their name. They don't use their name. They may come put something on the table or take something away. The other person is just talking to us and not even acknowledging this other person is there as a human being. Pretty sad. They don't even understand the message they're broadcasting to somebody who understands a lot about character. They're broadcasting. We all are doing it all the time. No matter what level we're at, we're broadcasting to people who are at a higher level our lack of character, because everybody at a higher level can see who we are and who we're not. And sometimes we don't even know it because we haven't even developed an awareness. And that's part of what this book series is, part of what this podcast series is, part of the reason we write books and do podcasts, make videos, to help provoke thought and raise awareness. Because it matters. Who you are matters. It impacts your influence. If you want to be a high impact leader, model a high degree of character. The next item on the checklist: I use the same language at home, at work, at a party, with close friends, and with extended family. Rhea's note to support it: I don't use profanity with some while pretending I don't speak that way with others. And that's powerful. And, coming from Rhea, I live with Rhea. She don't use profanity anywhere. I don't either anymore. But when I was far down on this ladder and I needed to work on pretty much the whole ladder, I needed to start climbing. When I used to use profanity, I hadn't used it since 2012. But I didn't use it everywhere. I definitely use it at home. I definitely use it if I was at a party. I definitely use it with close friends. A lot of times, though, I didn't use it with extended family. A lot of times I didn't use profanity with coworkers. Just depends. Some coworkers, yeah. Other coworkers, no. It just depends. Depending on the relationship. It depended on the relationship that I had or I wanted to have, whether I shared who I truly was or whether I tried to mask who I truly was. That's what the majority of people in life are going through right there every day, trying to figure out who to be, when to be, how to be, where to be. The goal is to look in the mirror and say, if I judge myself against a very high standard of character, what I need to do to get better. Start working on it. Everything you do is a reflection of who you are. And you may use profanity, and that's okay. But it ain't okay for me to use profanity. You can use it all you want, anywhere you want, whenever you want. That's your life. What I know is people of high character, really high character, they're going to see me, if I were to be speaking that way, which I don't, hadn't since 2012, but if I did, there's people who are in my life today who I'm close to that they may be in my life today, but they wouldn't be close to me. They wouldn't want my character rubbing off on their character. Meaning if somebody knew that they were close to me, it make them look bad. Because then somebody starts questioning, well, what is it about this person that's allowing him to be close to Mac when Mac's that way? Something got to be about this person that I don't know if they're associating with Mac and he's got all these character problems. Then they start questioning, what are they hiding? And that's true. They are hiding something. You hang out with a certain character people, it tells everybody about you, especially people with a higher character than you. I'm telling you, somebody with high character can see in the dark. You already know it. Regardless of what level your character is at the moment, it's a lot higher than a whole lot of other people. So when you look out the window at those other people who have lower character than you, you know it. You could sit down and tell anybody all the things these people are doing at a lower character than you. What you can't see is how people of higher character are looking at you the same exact way. And it's costing you. It may not cost you influence with people of low character, but it's costing you influence with people of high character. And that's who I want to associate with. And if you're listening to this podcast, especially if you've been listening for the whole series, I assume that's who you want to associate with. So this checklist, just some things to help you think and things to help you raise your level of awareness. The next checklist item, it would be okay if everyone knew what I read, what I watched, and what I listened to. Riz note there at the end, I'm transparent about my values and what I allow to influence my mind. That's a powerful one right there. It would be okay if everyone knew what I read, watched, or listened to. That means anybody in the world could be looking over your shoulder at your phone when you're looking at something or reading something. You'll be okay with it. And there's some people with low character who look at some junk on their phone and they're okay with anybody looking at it. Because they're okay having low character, and some people ain't trying to pretend that they have higher character. That's a good thing in a way because they're being authentic. They're making sure anybody with a high degree of character stays away from them. They want to have a low degree of character and they want to associate with people with a lower degree of character. The one thing they got going for them is they're authentic and not trying to hide it. But you can't check that box unless somebody could go in and review your history. You know, if you searching for stuff on the internet and you use an incognito or you're deleting your history, that's your first sign right there. You afraid somebody gonna find what you've been looking at. Maybe it's what you listen to on the radio or the stereo. Or your iTunes or whatever kind of software you're using to listen or watch. What if every day, whatever you read yesterday, whatever you listen to, whatever you watched, whatever kind of videos you watch, what if there was a playlist every day and anybody anywhere could just click on it and see what you've been doing? A lot of people got a lot of stuff to hide. If you're hiding stuff, you got a lot of work to do. Next checklist item. I speak truthfully. Real note, I don't try to deceive anyone. I speak truthfully to everyone. Man, I remember a lot of people in my life, especially at work. I met some people, I just call these people, they're like pathological liars. They just lied about stuff. It didn't even matter. They just be making up stuff. Just to be in a conversation, just to tell a lie. I hadn't met a lot of people like that, but I've met some people like that, and it is unbelievable. It's almost entertaining. And then they get mad when you won't believe them. That's like an extreme version. We're on the far end of that. The opposite far end says, I speak truthfully. I don't try to deceive anyone. Even stuff you might really wish nobody knew. If there's a discussion about it, you tell the truth. Kind of like when I'm on the stage and I'm telling people my son hated me from age 15 to 19. That's the truth. When I tell people my marriage with Rhea is my fourth marriage, that's the truth. And I tell it on stage. I also tell them we've been together 25 years. I figured out my problem, me. I tell them I rebuilt that relationship with my son when he was 19. I figured out my problem. It was me. He's 34 today. We've been close since he was 19. I speak truthfully. I talk about all kinds of problems I had, just like I talk about I used to use profanity. I don't run around today pretending I've been that way my whole life that I didn't. No, I get on stage and say, hey, I was a guy that if I spoke a one-word sentence, I had 2 words of profanity. That's speaking the truth. There's a little bit of joke in there because you can't speak a one-word sentence with 2 words of profanity, but that's the joke. The point was I use a lot of profanity. Hadn't since 2012, but that's the truth too. When you get away from your bad character, you actually can turn your bad character into lessons and stories and motivation and inspiration for other people. But when you're living in the middle of it, it doesn't have a whole lot of value. It works against you. Next item on the list, on the checklist. I'll share any of my jokes with anyone. My spouse, my family, my friends, boss, coworkers, at church, etc. Real note, I know the jokes I tell or laugh at reveal a lot about my true character. Yeah, there's a lot of people who tell a lot of jokes, and they don't understand when they're telling them jokes. They open it in the window so everybody can kind of stick their head in, look at the character based on the jokes they tell. And then sometimes somebody will pop off one of them jokes, and then somebody else in the crowd, you tell how they laugh or how they think about it. It reveals a lot about their character. Words are like open windows into who we are. The next item, I don't feel the need to hide certain things from certain people. Real note, I don't attempt to hide any of my behaviors and habits from anyone. It's again, I was not this person for a lot of years, but I have become this person. And I love being able to be the same guy everywhere. I don't have to change anymore. But you got to look in the mirror and say, can I check that off? Do I feel the need to hide certain things from certain people? If you do, you can't check this box. So if you're going through the book, you got to look in that mirror. You got to speak truth into yourself and say, you may check the box because you're afraid somebody might pick your book up and they say you didn't check the box. But you know when you're listening if you hide things from certain people. Why? Why are you hiding? You either hanging out with the wrong people or you're doing the wrong things. Somewhere, though, there's a misalignment going on. The next bullet, I make sure my social media content accurately portrays me. Real note, I don't have a reason to mask my character. I'm okay with revealing the real me to others. And again, you go get on social media, you're going to see some people sharing some junk. All it does is reflect who they are as a person. Some of them don't care. They're fine with being those people. But I'm telling you, they're not going to get hired by a high character person. They're not going to be brought in to be on a high performance team that's based on a high degree of character. Ain't going to happen. They're never going to be on those teams. They're never going to be hired by those people. And again, if they just quit putting it on social media, but they don't change who they are, there's no difference. They're just still hiding it. But luckily, a lot of people just post everything on social media and they don't hide it, so that the high character people just know who to be aware of. And sometimes it ain't what they post, it's what they like or what they share. And in that case, if it's accurately portraying them, they actually could check the box. Even though they're sharing some bad stuff, they could check this box. But this box is really meant for people who trying to pretend to be somebody they're not on social media. They putting up a fake front. Those people is who this checkbox is for. They couldn't check the box if they're being honest. Next item on the checklist. I don't criticize others for behaviors I practice. Ria's note, I'm not two-faced. If I behave in certain ways publicly, privately, or secretly, I don't criticize others who exhibit the same behaviors. That's two-faced. A lot of people do that. And a lot of people do it behind the curtain. You'll see some people criticize somebody in public. Maybe if you know the true them, you know they're doing the same thing in private. Or they're doing the same thing with this group of friends. But they trying to pretend they don't with someone. A lot of times it's with their kids. A lot of times parents are the ones getting this wrong. They getting on the kids for doing something wrong. I used to be guilty about that. I get on my son about doing something wrong, and I was guilty of doing it. I'm being two-faced, telling him to do one thing that I ain't doing. The last item on this checklist. I don't have to worry if my friends, family, coworkers, or clients talk to each other. Ria's note, I'm consistently the same person with everyone. So there's been some consistency using that word for this whole checklist. I'm the same with everyone. Some people, though, they're not the same, and they worried about when the friends get together if one of them's going to tell the other one something that they ain't supposed to know. Or the family or the coworkers. Some of them mingle. Maybe you're having a family day at work, and now you got your family with you, and they're amongst your coworkers, and you talk different with your coworkers than you talk at home, and you're hoping ain't nobody going to say nothing. Or you somewhere, maybe you at a wedding, and there's friends and family mix that don't normally mix, and now somebody's going to say something, and they didn't know they wasn't supposed to say something, and you didn't want them to, and then they did, and then now you got to deal with all this stuff. All that's what we call incongruence, meaning we're not walking the talk everywhere. We might be talking the talk, but we ain't walking the talk. So that pretty much wraps up today's episode. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Daniel Taylor from Ria's book, The Ladder of Influence, she had in this chapter. Daniel says, few things are as encouraging as the realization that things can be so different and that we have a role in making them so. We can change. At any time, we can push the reset button. We can become a different person. Truly. We have that option. We have that ability. All right. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon and Audible. Please visit BlueCollarLeadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.